Good morning, and welcome to First Church's Sunday morning celebration. Today, before I give the invocation, I'd like to share something with you. It's a story about faith and a small child. It's called "Is God Real?" and it goes like this. "God, are you real?" the small child whispered. "God, speak to me." And a meadowlark sang, but the child did not hear. So the child yelled, "God, speak to me," and thunder rolled across the sky, but the child did not listen. The child looked around and said, "God, let me see you," and a star shone brightly, but the child did not notice. And the child shouted, "God, show me a miracle," and a life was born, but the child did not know. So the child cried out in despair, "Touch me, God, and let me know you are there," whereupon God reached down and touched the child. But the child brushed the butterfly away and walked away unknowingly. We are often somewhat like the little child in this story, not seeing God around us, within us, or within others. But God is always there, always here and now. And now let us turn within, as I ask you to join me in consciousness, in knowing, accepting, acknowledging, and truly believing that there is but one love, one life, one infinite divine intelligence, one presence, one power, one supreme being that I call God. This one that I call God is all-seeing, all-knowing, is present everywhere, and is the very essence of life. I give thanks for this great and glorious new day, this day that God has given us to live and enjoy, and for this church, the First Church of Religious Science, for all who grace her doors, and for all who have made this center the loving, caring place it is, and for Reverend Jacqueline, our spiritual director, and for all who are present to hear her word. I send a special blessing today to those who could not be with us, knowing that they too are in their own right and perfect place right now. And I bless, acknowledge, and accept all religions and philosophies everywhere, whether they meet in a church, a synagogue, a mosque, or an open field. I bless them all, for I know that they too are of God. And I also know that this service is already complete, absolutely perfect in every way in the mind of God. And for this, and for so much more, I am so very thankful. And so it is. Amen. Living a stress-free life is what we all strive for. At least I know I do. And meditation is one of the ways we can use to relieve that stress. So for today's affirming statement, I would like to share with you a little of why we meditate. Imagine for a moment what happens when there's a storm in the ocean. Everything is chaotic and destructive up above, and we struggle to just hold on. But below the surface, everything is calm and peaceful. This is the way our brain operates. Mind chatter builds up throughout the day, and life comes at us like a perfect storm, making it very difficult for us to find inner peace and purpose while living a stress-free life. But when we align our minds and bodies with our higher self and go within, beyond thought, we are able to clear our mind of all the mental clutter that builds up over time, and that's why we meditate.
Now, speaking on the topic Sankofa, our own Reverend D. Jacqueline Edwards.
Hey, I'll be there. I'll be there. Just call my name. Just call my name. That's a promise. That's one of God's promises. Just call my name. Just say, "God, help me." Just say, "Spirit, where forth art thou?" Just say, "Help." Yell for help. I will be there because I can't be anyplace else. Because Spirit is everywhere present. Because I am one with that. Because there is this divine experience that we call love that is good and luscious and juicy. And today we are celebrating it. We are celebrating it in a grand, delicious way. What does that mean? That means that we are reminding ourselves to take every minute, every moment to love somebody. To love somebody. We could take our contact list in our cell phone and just go through it. I'm sending you some love today. I am just thinking about you. I am remembering some awesome experience that we had. I am remembering what a blessing you are in my life. I am loving you up. Just loving you up. I am letting go and letting love. What a concept. What an opportunity that is. All of it. So I'm going to start with the prosperity program today, because I think there is no better way to anchor our love than in abundance. So, do you have your book? Or are you sitting next to somebody? Or do you have your piece of paper? One or the other? So I tell you what, we'll do it this way. I'm going to read it in sections and you can repeat after me. How's that? Yay! Because this is a long one today. Today is day 25 for us, for our community. Now that doesn't say where we are individually. Some of us, for example, had to start again. But we are collectively at day 25, which is principle 9, and it's a little bit of a chunky one. When I am aware of the God self within me, as my total fulfillment, I am totally fulfilled. I am now aware of this truth. I have found the secret of life. And I relax in the knowledge that the activity of divine abundance is eternally operating in my life. I simply have to be aware of the flow, the radiation of that creative energy, which is continuously, easily, and effortlessly pouring forth from my divine consciousness. I am now aware. I am now in the flow. And so it is. Thank you, thank you. Yesterday, in our wonderful Principles of Financial Freedom class, we talked about the importance of reading out loud. Because when we read it out loud, we hear it, we speak it. And when we speak it, we get it in a way that we do not get it when we read it silently. So that's an invitation. If you're embarrassed go in the bathroom. Close the door. Turn up the music. Do whatever you need to do, but try it and see what happens. So, today we are going to weave together a couple of ideas, probably 3. I should say we're going to braid them together. We have this idea of Sankofa, which is the overarching idea, and it is somewhat in alignment with this idea that it is African American History Month. Sankofa is both a visual symbol, and it is represented by a bird that is looking backwards and has an egg in its mouth. The looking backwards represents looking towards the past. The egg that is in its mouth, that is held in its mouth, represents the future. The idea that is captured in this word Sankofa comes from the Akan tribe in Ghana, and it is the idea of looking back at my past, at my history, if you will, to learn what I can from that experience, so that as I stand in my present, I have both my wisdom that I have learned from my past, and I can apply that wisdom to my planning for my future. So there is the Sankofa piece. And it's Valentine's Day. Now, in looking at how did that get started, there are some really interesting things, all of which I will not bring, but I'll sort of do what do they do in sports? The highlights. So the highlights are that, first of all, there were quite a few people, 3 to 5, depending on who you ask, people whose name was Valentine, or a derivative thereof, Valentinius, Valentine, who were, depending again on who you ask, who became saints. So it is Saint Valentine in any version that you look at. Saint Valentine, all of them, lived around the same period of time, and that's approximately 200 to, let's go as far as 350, 400, right? AD, early part of the century. So what was going on there at that time, and when I read this, I found myself feeling a still, was a great deal of persecution of the Christians by the same folks, the Romans. Those Romans were just busy. The particular Roman that we're talking about is a guy by the name of Platonius II. And he had 2 ideas. One idea was that people, men in particular, who have families, do not want to join the army and go to war. There's a concept, right? So he put out this edict that young men, and I didn't see anything in the material that indicated the specific age range, but he put out this edict that young men could not get married. Now we know about how far that went, right? So Platonius, Valentinius, one of these Valentine gentlemen, happened to be a priest. And he said, yeah, whatever. But if you come by here, I'll marry you. I will perform wedding ceremonies, kind of on the QT, if you will. But like any community, nothing stays on a QT very long, and soon word got out, and Platonius heard about it, and needless to say, he was not very happy. Well, our guy, Valentine, was like, well, okay, I'm sorry that you're not happy, but if you understood God and spirit and love and light in the way that I do, then you would understand why this is important, why it is important to, and I'm going to use this word kind of loosely, to sanctify love, to absolutely not only recognize it, but to elevate it to a place in our society that allows the entire society to grow. And then, because he was a bold soul, he went on to elaborate on some of the other basic principles of Christianity as he understood it to be. Now, that gets to the second thing that Platonius was up to, which was mandating that everyone must worship the 12 gods that the Romans worshipped. You can imagine how popular that idea was with those people who were trying to grow this new idea of Christianity. They weren't very happy about that either, so they were continuing to do that as they had in the early years, 5, 10, 15, immediately after the exit of Jesus the man. So they were continuing to do that underground. So when Valentine not only tells the man, yes, I'm going to perform weddings, but you need to join me in this philosophy and forget that 12 gods thing, Platonius was not a happy camper. So he did what unhappy campers that have power do. He threw him in prison. Now this is where we get into a little bit of maybe, maybe not. Rumor has it that the jailer, the head jailer, had a daughter who was blind. But he understood that Valentine had this ability to teach and to raise up the spirits of in such a way that even people who were not happy with their life circumstances would find joy. So he said to him, I tell you what, I'll give you a little bit extra, whatever it was they gave in those days, if you teach my daughter. Valentine said, sure, yeah, I'm good with that. Bring her. Rumor has it that the jailer, the head jailer, brought his daughter. Valentine taught her, and one day they went into prayer together. And when they came out of prayer, there was a big light. And after the big light, girlfriend could see. She had sight. Needless to say, the jailer said, well, I'm stepping off of the 12 gods and I'm going to do whatever that is that you're doing. I want some of that. Now, my little sidebar to that is that is, in part, what we're called upon to do. We are called upon to live our lives in such a way that people look at us and go, what you doing? I want some. Whatever that thing is that you're doing that seems to have you happy, that seems to have you prosperous, that seems to have you in the consciousness and in the awareness that life is good. I want some of that. Back to Valentine and the girl and the jailer. So the jailer not only converted himself and his family, but he then proceeded to convert everyone that he touched. He is in effect being credited with multiplying this idea of one God. Multiplying this idea that healing happens, that healing is possible, that there is that place called faith. And when we step from faith, then we step into a life transformed. Back to Platonius. He really was not happy. So he did, again, what people in power do when they're not happy, and he executed Valentine. Rumor has it, however, that before Valentine went to whatever it was that they used in that time, he wrote a note to the young lady And he said, love you, stay blessed, your Valentine. Voila. Thus, we have Valentine's Day, and the question, will you be mine? Will you be my Valentine? Now, the third chord we want to weave into this conversation invites us to go first to Matthew, the 22nd chapter, the 36th through 41st verses. Jesus is doing, one of his talks. He's got the people gathered. And somebody asked this question, Master, which is the great commandment in the law? I might not be able to remember everything. But what is the thing that I need to keep present? Keep this idea before me. What is it that I want to walk with? And Jesus responded and said, well, actually, there's two great commandments. The first is, thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart. With all thy heart, that place where our emotion resides. And with all thy soul. That's that creative place, right? That's that place where creativity happens. And with all thy mind. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul and with all thy mind. That's the first great commandment. And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Now that one gets a little gnarly because there's a requirement in that, right? We say that with ease. We roll it off. Love your neighbor as yourself. But there is a prerequisite that you first love yourself. So for the benefit of our talk today, we are going to consider that I can love myself one little teeny tiny bit at a time. If I can just find one thing about myself that I love, right? One thing that I really, really, really like, that I really love. It can be a quality that I have. It can be a physical feature that I have. It doesn't really matter what it is, because what we're inviting it to be is a key, is an opening to loving myself unconditionally. So what we have to pick is the thing that I'm going to love about myself, no matter how stupid I think the thing is that I just did. No matter what. That's what the unconditional piece means. That no matter what, I love this about myself. It can be your toes, right? It doesn't matter. It does not matter. It can be your nose. I happen to be a little fond of my mouth. When I look in the mirror, I go, that's got a nice mouth. I like that mouth. It moves a lot. It talks a lot, but I'm okay with that. It's a little busy, but hey, that's my job, right? So even when I'm feeling like I did something really inappropriate, right? Joanne and I went to get our nails done. And I have forgotten to bring the gift certificate with me. And I said something very unministerial out of my mouth there in the nail shop, right? I'm sure that I was matching this necklace. I'm certain of it, right? In that moment, I get to find something that no matter how unministerial I felt I was being in the moment, I can love about myself. Because that helps to move me back off the edge. And once I get there, then I can love everybody. Yes? So are we willing to try that? Just as a little experiment. Just as a little experiment. Because once I'm loving myself, then I have a standard for what it means to love my neighbor. Ernest Holmes, in our wonderful, wonderful Science of Mind textbook, says on page 43, and this is one of those things that we like to anchor ourselves in, ministers, practitioners, lay people, anybody picks up the textbook, they immediately, after about, 3 or 4 weeks or so, will stand up and say, love rules through law. So how you like me now? Love rules through law. You got to have the law. You have to have order. You have to have a process in order for love to thrive. Exactly. Maybe we need to read the next couple of sentences. Because he says, love is the divine giving of the Spirit to itself. Law is the way. Then he goes on to say, love is spontaneous. Law is impersonal. As we gain the broader viewpoint, we shall see that life must contain two fundamental characteristics. There is an infinite spirit operating through an infinite and immutable law. But now here is the bottom line. Love points the way, and law makes the way possible. Love points the way. We have to start with the feeling. We have to start with the love, and then the law gets to kick in. But love directs the law. The law does not direct love. Love is a feeling. Love is the feeling that invites us to discover the law in the thing. When the discoverer, when the scientist finds something, discovers something, invents something, it is because they had a feeling. Because they had a sense that there was something else there that could be converted through something greater. It was through their love of the journey, the love of figuring it out, the love that is the emotion and the emotional content and context that propels us to be able to do the thing that we otherwise could not do because we might be too tired, or because we might not have enough time, or because I just don't feel like it today. It is love that erases all of that and propels us forward again in that unconditional no matter what. And once we get there, then the law of the thing reveals itself. Let's bring that to relationships, shall we? And let's sprinkle some Sankofa in that, bringing it to relationships. I'm in love. Oh, God, he's wonderful. He's just fabulous. He's tall, dark, and handsome, and dresses well, and he's smart, and blah, 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 blah. Whatever your thing is. We all have our things for what that one is, right? And so we meet, and we greet, and we can't stop grinning, because it's just good. It's just awesome. That's love in action, yes? That's love in action. And it is that love that propels us, impels us, compels us to look deeper. Yes? To check it out. To see what it's all about. And from this place of love, there are numerous actions that we can take. Sometimes we get there and we see the things, and there's some things that we kind of go, well, some of us decide, I can fix that. We know we say that, right? I can fix it. Now this is where the Sankofa part comes in. Because we typically, until we address the thing within ourselves, we keep attracting the same person. Yes? Our experience, our looking back at the past, will teach us when we have that I can fix it moment, that thought that comes up that I can fix it, when we have that, if we remember the last 6 that we were going to fix and how that wound up, we might have a different thought. It doesn't mean I stop loving you. It doesn't mean I don't care for you. But when we go back to that love thy neighbor as thyself, as I'm loving myself, looking back at where I've been, I may be going, I love you, but I realize you're not the one for today. I love you, but I realize I can't fix you. I love you, and I realize that there is somebody out there with whom you are divinely compatible, but it may not be me. And it's all right. Because what happens when we do that, we're back to the divine yes now. The universe does a happy dance. She got it. She figured it out. Yes, yes, yes. Now we can send the right one. Now that law of attraction kicks in a way that brings me the one that is truly the one, because I figured it out from looking back at my history, looking where I am now, and deciding what I want in my going forward, in that egg, in that newness of it, in that new birth of it, in that new relationship, deciding that I want something I ain't got to fix. I want this new me, because this is a new me now, that I have released all of that stuff. I want something that reflects the essence and the joy and the love of this new me. And because God always says yes, always says yes, there is a guarantee. There is a guarantee that as I wait upon the Lord, as I do as I am directed in Philippians 8th chapter, 4th verse. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, telling the truth, right? Whatsoever things are just, I am entitled to love and happiness. Whatsoever things are pure, be ye pure of heart. Whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, if you have any virtue about yourself, and if you are inclined towards any praise, think on these things. Ashe? Ashe. Amen. Amen. And so it is. Happy Valentine's Day. Be love. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Love rules. Love rules. Love rules moves through law. The law waits for love to give it directions and then goes and does what it needs to do to have the thing made manifest. And for this, we are grateful. Absolutely, deeply, and profoundly grateful. Love says yes to perfect health. Love says yes to loving relationships. Love says yes to abundant prosperity in our financial affairs. Love says yes to bright, sunshiny days. Love says yes to the heart. Love says yes. And so as we remember that love is God and God is love, and love permeates every single cell and fiber of our bodies, we are reminded that all we have to do is ask. Ask in that declarative voice. Ask in that way that says, there's a power for good in the universe that is the universe, and I am using it right now. And so it is with love, with humility, with gratitude and grace, that I release this prayer to the immutable and perfect, impeccable law that is always and in all ways God in action. And so it is. Thank you. And now for our affirmation. So on the lower left-hand side of the program, and we can share together. I use the wisdom from the past to inform my love-based actions in the present that build a divinely blessed, prosperous, and healthy future. And so it is.
Alrighty then, prosperity affirmation. Divine love consecrates my gift. It goes forth to heal, to prosper, and to bless. It is evidence of my conviction that God is the source and the substance of my supply. I release my gift knowing that it returns to me multiplied abundantly, and so it does.
Thank you.
Blessed